I don't see the point of debate. When Peter buys $1 billion worth of gold, then I'll have a debate with him.
The world looks at these guys, the people who have been influencers in the finance world for a while, who are totally against it. And then somebody sits there and says, well, I trust Buffett more than I do Michael Saylor. Why should I believe these guys that are talking about Bitcoin?
What you're seeing is a shockwave moving through the culture. You're seeing the most disruptive force in the world right now, and it's slamming into people and institutions faster than they can absorb it and appreciate it and understand it. Warren Buffett's a friend of Bill Gates for how many years, and he still hasn't bought Microsoft stock? You know, Charlie Munger wasn't an advocate of Apple Computer, right? How about Amazon, right? How about Microsoft, right? But what if I told you couldn't really understand it without 100 hours of time invested? How many people after the age of 40 spend 100 hours studying anything? You know, like once you get to, how about age of 65?
You don't think of Munger, Buffett, Gates, these guys spent 100 hours studying Bitcoin?
Aren't you sure they didn't? Isn't it obvious? I would say it's almost certain that he hasn't spent 10 hours. And so, I would say the same with most macro investors, though, right now. You know what? I would say the same with a lot of crypto investors. The world is full of, okay, how many people, I mean, I see it because I see it in my feed. Most people in the crypto space haven't spent 100 hours studying this. How many people have spent 100 hours studying the stock that they hold in their portfolio?
True.
The more important point is everybody thinks for themselves, right? So you wouldn't go to Charlie Munger and ask him to pick out stocks in your stock. Name every winning stock in the past decade. Netflix, Google,
Fang.
Apple, Facebook, Amazon. How many of them were recommended to you by any of these people that you're getting opinions on? None of the Bitcoin antagonists or critics would have recommended or did recommend any of those stocks, right? So it's kind of a moot point. It's really just marketing or sparks that are being sent up, because what happens is these guys in the media, they interview them and they want to get a rise out of them, so they actually throw this out there. Nobody is asking Warren Buffett's opinion of silver or gold right now because no one's interested in hearing the answer. Critic, you can criticize everything, but what's his answer? If you listen to Peter's debates, what he says is he only has 5% of his portfolio invested in gold, which means that he has 95% invested in something else. But what is the something else? You're back in this same, hedge fund shuffle mentality. It's like, just give me all your money and I'm just going to shuffle it with random 95% opacity on random stuff back and forth, but don't question it. What about the 5? If it was a recommendation, he would own more than 50% of his portfolio in the gold, but he doesn't believe in it. So,
but his argument would be, I don't recommend people to buy 50%. I recommend people to buy 2 to 5%. That's his position.
He doesn't have an answer to that means that you're going to lose 95% of your wealth. So what's the answer? The issue with Peter is Peter's not offering a solution to the world. Right? He's simply trolling Bitcoin, and he's not trolling Bitcoin with any real concrete criticism other than he just doesn't like it, right? I don't see the point of debate. When Peter buys $1 billion worth of gold, then I'll have a debate with him.
So you're saying you don't see him as a true believer, even in he says, hey, gold is your hedge against, as Pat properly pointed out to him on the Fox interview that Peter and Pat had, said, listen, Peter, you're selling Armageddon to sell gold, and you're saying, and yet Peter only owns 5%
Peter
of it.
is short gold. Peter is anti-everything. For example, he's got more investment in gold stocks, gold miners, than gold. Well, gold miners are short gold. Gold miners' incentive is to dump as much gold on the market as possible, as fast as possible. If you read the balance sheets of the gold miners, what you'll find is they don't hold gold as an asset. So gold miners don't believe gold is money. If they did, they wouldn't sell it, they'd buy it. And Peter doesn't believe gold is money. If he did, he wouldn't allocate 95% of his wealth to something other than it. And ultimately, the fundamental issue with Peter is, he's just debated, he's debated this issue for a decade. All of his argument is just, I don't like Bitcoin. He hasn't come up with anything worth refuting that I can see. And if you go online, you'll find 3, 4, 5, 6 Peter Schiff debates. And he just doesn't say anything other than just bark at the person that he's debating with. So I can't see it's constructive. And Peter's not one. Peter hasn't bet on gold. Peter's betting on gold going down. He's buying the Bitcoin, the gold miners that are dumping the gold, making the gold price decay. So that doesn't make any sense. If you dig into the gold miner balance sheets, read the 2, 3 biggest gold miners, what you'll find is they overmine the gold, dump the gold, then they pay an income tax, then they dividend out their excess and pay a dividend tax, then they pay off their debt, which is 2%. So another way to say it is they would rather loan money out to the world for 2% interest than hold gold. That's how bad they don't like gold. Right, and they're the ones that mine the gold. It's a crippling indictment of the entire industry, right? That they think it's going to zero. That's why they keep dumping the gold on the market. Find me somebody that really believes in gold. In fact, every single gold proponent you'll find on the internet, if you listen to them, they'll start their conversation with, well, first of all, I don't recommend you invest more than 5 or 10% of your money in gold. It's just like it's a hedge thing. Find me somebody in the world that has invested more than 50% of a portfolio in gold or at $1 billion level. Like my position is pretty clear. I've invested almost $4 billion in Bitcoin. And I'm not telling you need to invest half your portfolio in it. I'm just saying that I think that it is money. It is an asset. It will appreciate in value. And one can create a strategy where it is the dominant part of the strategy. There are other people that have invested in companies. Amazon was Jeff Bezos' strategy. I get it, big tech. Other people have bought city blocks in New York City. That's a valid strategy. So investing in property or investing in technology is a valid strategy. But on the other hand, find me someone that has actually bet $5 billion on gold, where it constitutes more than 50% of their portfolio and it's their own money. It's every single influential person in the world is being asked to have an opinion, but they're not spending 100 hours on the opinion. If I roll the clock back 100 years and I went to every politician and every rich person in the world in the year 1900 and I asked them what they thought about electricity, what do you think they'd say?
Right.
How about airplanes in the year 1904? What was the opinion then? So it's not unreasonable, and I don't think we should be spending a lot of time fixating upon the opinions of famous and powerful and rich people about a technology that they have not chosen to make a focal point of their interest.
Well, yeah, but based on what you're saying, you don't need to study Bitcoin. Just trust you and buy Bitcoin.
No, he's not saying that.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I spent 1,000 hours before
what I'm saying is, you're basically saying, look, I've done the research. You don't need to do it yourself. Just buy Bitcoin and hold it for 100 years. Have a great day. Bye. It's basically what you're saying.
I'm actually saying that people should do the research until they get the conviction necessary to make their own decision. Look, like at the end of the day, this is property. I don't run I'm not promoting my own security. I'm not promoting an exchange. I'm basically suggesting, go west, young man.